Hello, welcome to Fandom Access Memory. Today, Bear the Great and Niso the Flawless discuss Mother, starring Jennifer Lawrence and Javier Bardem, and directed by Darren Aronofsky. They also discuss a very serious and contentious topic that is sure to have ripple effects for years to come. Thank you so much for tuning in, and enjoy the show. And welcome back to Fam the Podcast. This is your podcast, should you choose to accept it. My name is Bear.
My name is Niso.
Hi Niso, how's it going today?
It is going well. It is going well today.
Cool.
How's it going with you?
It's going. Things are going.
Yeah?
Yeah, things are going. Mostly just playing Minecraft, that's about it, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, I don't have a very exciting life, so.
I was able to film with Sublime this weekend.
I heard about that. How was that?
Film with Sublime on Wednesday and Monday, actually.
That's really cool.
Yes, it was a great time.
We were all very jealous of you.
Was...
We being my friend, our friend group and I. So.
Yes, but it was very cool. It was an extremely awesome experience.
Can you talk about a little bit of what you were filming, or?
So they were recording their next album, and so I was filming them in the studio recording their next album, along with they did like a surprise show at the Mousetrap. And so I recorded them, recorded like the process of getting ready for a concert and then them actually performing.
That's awesome.
Yes, it was a great opportunity.
Cool. Yeah, I did nothing like that. Nowhere near that exciting. So, but yeah, so today, for today's episode, we are going to talk about the movie Mother. Now, in our test episode, we talked a little bit about this, although I accidentally called it Her. This is not Her with Joaquin Phoenix.
Which definitely got us on the... We were talking about two different things at the same time.
Yes. Now, both of them are great movies.
Yeah.
Like, both of them are solid films. However, we're going to talk about Mother. This is starring Jennifer Lawrence and Javier Bardem. Both really good actors, although I'm not a big Jennifer Lawrence fan.
I'm not a big Jennifer Lawrence fan either, but I mean, she's great in this movie.
Yeah. She definitely is. We'll talk about that for sure.
Yes.
And this is directed by...
Darren Aronofsky.
Darren Aronofsky, yes.
He also did Requiem for a Dream and there was one, I can't remember the other one.
Okay.
There's another one that's like kind of like household that.
There was one called Noah, I believe.
Yeah.
That he did.
Yeah.
Because I was reading kind of on his design philosophy.
Black Swan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That was him?
Yeah, he directed Black Swan. That's what it was.
Yeah, I know that he's done some other works that are sort of like biblical analogs.
Yeah.
And this one is definitely that.
Yeah,
so.
I looked on his IMDb page. Apparently he made a Noah's Ark film.
Yes, it's called Noah. Right. Yeah, I just said that. You know, if you listen to what I said when I said it, it would be really nice.
That's what I thought. Okay, never mind. I thought we were on the same page, but no, my mind. Never mind. I'm in the conversation now.
Mother.
Mother.
How do you want to start this off? Because like we're still trying to figure out how we want to do reviews and how it kind of sounds the best.
Mm-hmm.
We don't really want to launch into a huge... Oh, first of all, spoiler alert, obviously.
Naturally.
Please go watch the movie. Like,
it would make more sense to watch the movie
yes.
as we would go talk about this. But I mean, yeah.
But if you don't watch the movie, obviously we're going to talk a little bit about the plot, but it's going to make a lot more sense if you do watch it. And honestly, it's an extremely good movie.
Mm-hmm.
I will say there's a content warning for abuse of a baby. So I'll say that before you go watch it. But it's not, it's all allegorical. It's very good. So I'm just going to kind of like run like bare bones level over the plot synopsis, so we're kind of all on the same page. So it centers around a wife and husband. The wife is Jennifer Lawrence. The husband is Javier Bardem. I'm going to be referencing the husband as the poet, because they call him the poet later on in the movie, because he's a poet by trade. And then the wife I'm going to call the mother, because she's the titular mother.
Mm-hmm.
Titular.
Nice.
Nice. So it kind of follows them in their house. They live out in the middle of nowhere. They don't really have any neighbors or anything, and it's kind of an idyllic like living situation.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a Garden of Eden,
Mm-hmm.
And over the course of the film, they end up slowly introducing more characters that kind of impose themselves on the house. Like those characters.
What was his name? Ed Harris?
Yes. Yeah, Ed Harris. And I don't remember
Michelle Pfeiffer.
the lady. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She's a bitch. She's awful. She's
awful.
amazing in the role, but
Yes.
she really makes you hate the character.
Yes. But they just like Ed Harris literally just appears at the front door. Like it's not like there's like, but that's kind of what starts the ball rolling. There's never really like a plot. It's just a story. There's not like that inciting incident. There's no MacGuffin in this film. If there is, it's Ed Helms showing up at the door.
Yes.
Or not Ed Helms. Ed Harris. Can you imagine Ed Helms in this movie? I cannot. Oh,
wait, what did Ed Helms do?
He's Andy from The Office, and like,
just like coming up to the door, like
you like start singing from like Cornell or something.
Hello,
got like his acapella team with him.
Wow. Anyway,
and the 1 and 2 and the 3
and the 4.
Just keep counting, and the 5 and the 6 and the 7.
And you like cut 2 hours later, it's like, and 121 and 122.
Yeah, at the end of the end credit scene is Ed Helms just counting, like doing this.
1001, 1002, 1003. Anyway,
and go.
Anyway, so Ed Harris, he just appears, and over the course of the film, more and more people show up. His 2 sons come in. One of the sons kills the other one, and then things just kind of spiral out of control from there.
It's just crazy, and it's like, no. Does anybody get it like an actual name in this movie? I don't think anybody does.
No, nobody does.
Nobody has a name.
It's one of those like artsy films that I tend to like. Where it's like, if you turn on the subtitles on Netflix, it's like her and him.
Honestly, it was really cool. I turned on the subtitles like a little over halfway through, and like when all the people are like storming in the house at the end, it says like a zealot.
Yes,
as who's talking.
They're
and
just
then,
like archetypes.
Yeah, basically. And then another one was like cup maker or something. Like it's just like random shit. All the little extras have their own little title. It's cool.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. And the thing is, like, as things go on, more and more people show up, and then it just devolves into chaos. There's war. This is all going on in the house. That's the only, setting for the movie is the house.
We never leave the house.
And you see kind of the outside of the house in certain shots, but like it's all inside the house.
Yeah, we don't ever even go outside, do we?
No,
I don't think we do.
No, it's all following Jennifer Lawrence's character, the mother. As she just kind of walking through the house, and then later on as she's like running through the house, because again, all of this stuff goes on. Basically what happens is the mother and the poet want to have a child. They decide to have a child. She gets pregnant, and by the end of the movie she has the child, and the child is taken and shown to the other people in the house, and the other people in the house kill the baby and eat it.
It's crazy.
It's very visceral. The ending of this movie is so visceral, and the mother ends up going crazy, and not crazy, justifiably angry, calling them murderers and everything, and sets the house on fire. And at the very end you have the mother, her burned up body, and the poet and the poet comes to her and
completely fine, by the way.
Yeah, completely fine. And he was in the fire, like it shown.
He was right next to mother as she set the place ablaze, so like he wouldn't be untouched.
Yeah, and he like asks her if she still loves him, and then he digs in her chest and finds this crystal, and it resets all the house, which is how the film starts as well. He's got this crystal. It kind of resets this house from burning, and
it's a very opening scene. The opening with a different lady.
Yes, yeah, and it ends with a completely different person starting off the movie the same way that Jennifer Lawrence's character did. So.
That's how I also really love that part, because it's like when you're watching the movie for the first time, you see that sequence of the house going from ash to like restored, and it all like just kind of wipes away, like from like being burnt down to like being rebuilt. And then we literally see the ashes of the bed, and then we see like Jennifer Lawrence like pop up from the bed and like literally being created.
Right.
But like we think it's just some sort of metaphor of something like, okay, what is this when we're watching the movie? But then when you reach the end of the movie, we realize that's the first time that being as a being is created. This is her first moment.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just like, whoa, like she literally was just created and we just watched her get created because the ending shot mimics like the very first shot with Jennifer Lawrence on purpose to represent like the very first shot is this lady close up on her eyes. She's all bloody and place is burning, and it's like close up on and the exact same shot and framing and everything with Jennifer Lawrence at the end. We realize that it's just a cycle because the last shot is the thing getting restored again, and a different girl wakes up in the bed and then calls baby and then cuts off.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of want to go through and just talk about like the obvious allegory in the movie, and then I want to talk a bunch about like the cinematography and the sound design and all that. I kind of want, like I was saying, we were trying to figure out what we want this podcast to really be. We want it to be a conversation, so we're probably going to jump all over the place, but please give us feedback if you want to at FAM the Podcast. That's FAM the Podcast at gmail.com. Feel free to send us in emails or just hit me up on Discord if you have my Discord, just to give us some feedback of what you would like to hear. But so we're going to talk a little bit about the like allegory and the metaphor for it, because that's the part that I obviously really love. Now you can find plenty of like symbolism guides or what's the word? What is the word I'm looking for? Interpretations?
Yeah. I'm sure this movie's been picked apart before.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And it's pretty obvious if you really get into it.
Yeah.
But on first glance, it really captured my imagination, and it still does.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, this is an obvious allegory for God, and basically the poet is God, right? And the poet is creating the world from nothing. Well, not from nothing. The poet is creating from the love of the previous creation. And then you have the mother, who is Mother Nature. I mean, it's pretty obvious that she's the world. She's the non-human part of creation.
Yeah, and right? He says, like, she is home.
Yes,
like, yeah,
exactly.
So she is the home.
At the very end.
Yeah.
I am I, which is a reference to the Old Testament, like God in the Old Testament saying, I am Yahweh, or I am who I am, basically. And then saying mother is home, you know, Jennifer Lawrence's character is home. But yeah, so Jennifer Lawrence's character obviously represents the world or the non-human creation. And it was really confusing for me at first to try to figure out who all the other characters were, but they're humanity. You have Adam coming in first. You see
as
a
Ed
wound.
Harris.
Yeah, as Ed Harris. You see a wound where his rib was. And he starts off very, you know, enthralled with the poet. They have long talks and everything. And then you have the creation of Eve, quote unquote. Because you see Ed Harris has like a wound right where his rib is. And then shortly after that, you have Michelle Pfeiffer coming onto the scene. And this is, if you know anything about like the creation myth from Genesis, this is very similar. Like Eve was the one who in the creation myth of Genesis originally fell. And then like Adam fell with her. So you have then Cain and Abel coming in, and you have the first murder. Like, it's just almost shot for shot.
Yeah. And
like
I mean, you could even say like when they break the gem is like picking up the first apple.
Yes.
Like that's the first sin.
Yes, that is the original
that's the first
sin.
time we ever see, like, because Javier Bardem is like the poet. He's like so completely enthralled by the attention that he's getting from these people. And so this is the first time we ever see him like act out against them, because they break the gem and he like screams at them. He's like, get the fuck out. You know? And so that's the first time we ever see him like break.
Yes, and that's such a powerful sequence. That's when I mean, I'm getting like goosebumps thinking about it. So they break the gem that is like his pride and joy.
The one that brought the life back to the whole house.
Yes.
Which we understand what it is at the end. But
right, but we don't know at this point. So they break it, and then they leave the room. He boards up the room. So obviously he's boarding up the Garden of Eden, right? I mean, this is the cradle of creation. He's boarding it up. And then it was always confusing to me when Mother then walks away from the poet as he's like picking up the pieces, and you see Ed Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer getting it on.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're getting dirty, in this room. And you realize, oh, that's like after original sin, after the fall, this represents them rebelling against the poet and the mother.
Mm-hmm.
So it very much mirrors the creation story. But anyway, so then you get Cain and Abel coming in. I'm just going to call them Cain and Abel because they don't have names, but and they're obvious Cain and Abel. You have the first murder, so the one brother murders the other one,
which is Domhnall Gleeson.
Yes.
Domhnall Gleeson is in this movie for like 7 minutes.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah.
But
and then
great.
he kind of returns for like a second, and then he leaves. Couple of interesting things, just because I'm a nerd here.
Mm-hmm.
One is, did you notice how the blood stain like taints is the first taint on creation? Because the blood stain where the
and the carpet
on the hardwood floor,
yeah,
the blood stain where the one brother fell and died, makes a permanent stain on the floor that you can't wash out, and
mm-hmm.
it like makes a hole in the floor and everything,
mm-hmm.
and then they just cover it with a rug. It's a nod towards like the original sin tainting creation for the first time.
Oh,
like
okay.
without mother's consent, the sins of the humans have caused permanent damage to
mm-hmm.
the environment, right?
Yeah.
So that's interesting. The other really interesting thing that I picked up on after having this in mind was that he accidentally the Cain analogy, like the man who's supposed to represent Cain, accidentally touches the blood to his forehead, which is a nod to the sign of Cain, the mark of Cain. Have you ever heard about that?
No, I haven't.
I believe it's in the Bible. Basically, when Cain kills Abel, God marks him on the forehead and says, "This mark is your mark. No one will be able to basically injure you or mess with you." But he sends him out into the wilderness. So that's why he's gone from the rest of the movie.
Oh.
So he has him wander, but he has a mark of blood right on the middle of his forehead,
Yeah,
which is a symbol.
Well, I thought that was because, it is the poet's the one who gives him that, doesn't he? Because he like slams his head into the table, or because when he pulls him off,
maybe
because he's on to Jennifer Lawrence, then he pulls him off and like slams his head onto the thing.
Maybe.
So that would make even more sense.
That would
though,
definitely make more sense.
That the poet is the one who gives him the mark anyway.
But yeah.
And then he runs and never comes back.
That's a very minor thing, but I just geeked out over.
Yeah, but this whole thing, if we think about it, those could all be minor things, but it's all building to this one big allegorical piece, which is super cool. It's just like those little details in every single scene. They're all there.
Yes.
It's just cool. It's it's a very particular film.
But yeah, it's all just it's layers upon layers of allegory. And I don't remember exactly where I was going with this. Oh, just the allegory. So then we have Cain and Abel. We have the first murder. Everything goes to shit after that. Basically, they have the funeral, and then more and more people show up, and it's almost becoming a party.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have the two characters who are sitting on this unbraced sink, and it breaks and it floods the whole room, which is an analogy to the flood, right?
Okay, yeah.
So because then after you have all of those people carousing around, they cause that flood. They all leave for a while.
Yeah,
and it's calm for a while.
She finally breaks it.
Yes.
She's like, okay, get out.
And that's
get out.
And that's when the poet gets the idea for the Messiah. Like gets the idea for the saving like to have the baby, basically.
Yeah, because then eventually,
So they have sex, they go, she gets pregnant like the next morning.
Mm-hmm.
Which at this point, first watch through is like, wait, how does that work?
Yeah.
That's almost the first time where you really feel like this is not natural, like something else is going on.
Mm-hmm.
That this is some unseen thing is happening.
Sure. Well, she does touch the wall and like has that little heartbeat of the heart.
Yeah. So she often will touch the wall at certain times when she's having these cramps, and she'll see like a heartbeat in there. So that's a recurring motif in the movie. So
I don't want to get us off track, but I do want to ask you about like that elixir that she like takes.
So that is a big thing. I was actually reading online.
Okay.
Nobody knows what that is. I have my own interpretation, obviously.
Sure.
That it's Mother So I think it's kind of analogous to Mother Nature every time that people ruin it, every time that people make a mess or they ruin things, she has to come in and fix it, right? You see her use something similar to that medicine to paint the walls with. She's using natural ingredients. She doesn't have any painkillers and all that. So she is trying to fix herself. She's having these cramps. She's having these problems because the people are in her house. And so she's trying to fix things herself. But she only has a certain amount that she can do. And she can't, fight against all of the destruction around her, right? So I felt like that was an analogy to when humans come onto the scene and we really mess up the environment. Mother Nature has systems in place to try to fix things, but she can't fix it forever. She can't fix the irreversible damage that humans have done. So that was, to me, what that was. And you notice that she flushed that medicine after she had the Messiah. And I think that this is Darren Aronofsky's way of pointing to the failings of the poet. I think this is all like getting real esoteric here, but this is the kind of space that I live in. The poet ends up having this idea of how to fix things, like quote unquote fix things, right? By having a child. And so he and Mother Nature have a baby, and she gets pregnant, and that, I think, is supposed to be Christ. Okay? So Aronofsky, to me, is saying God had this idea for how to fix humanity even though they messed up, and it's by sacrificing his own son. And that's a crime against nature, because it's something beautiful that God and nature made together. You know what I mean? So let's talk about that actually for a minute. That's a weird one, right? Yeah. So let's take a deeper look in that, and feel free to stop me because I'm kind of on a roll.
No, I'm here for it.
I'm kind of talking a whole lot on this one.
That's fine.
Allegory and metaphor is my thing. So
for sure. No, take the stage.
So they have the child. She gets pregnant with the child, right? That's when everything goes to shit. And this is obviously a metaphor for the world itself going to shit over time, right? Like wars happen, protests, religion.
Yeah, she like walks into the living room and these girls are all in cages and shit. It's just like, what? And like, how did this happen so fast? It's just crazy.
Did you notice the poet has this publicist, right?
Yeah.
The publicist becomes the church, basically.
Is that the church? Is that
to me that was like the Roman Catholic Church, because it was. I felt like there was a scene where the publicist is like. Executing these people on the floor. I felt like that was the Crusades. Like that was the Roman Catholic Church executing others in the house who fell by the wayside, who she didn't feel were loyal to the poet. And the poet's not even there at that point.
Yeah.
So like it's the Roman Catholic Church just murdering people in our history. Because they didn't believe, or because they didn't believe the right thing.
Which is played by Kristen Wiig, by the way. She's in the movie
and she does an excellent job for like the 2 minutes that she's in.
I honestly love when that is the case, when like big time actors are only in the movie for like 5 minutes. I really, really like that. Yeah. Like in another movie that does that is 1917. Did you see that movie?
I haven't. Is that the one where
the war movie?
Like,
it's one take.
Like one take. Yeah,
exactly.
I need to see that movie.
It's super awesome, but there's only 2 like big name actors in the whole thing. It's the King's Speech guy. Is that Colin Firth? Colin Farrell?
I have no clue.
One of the Collins. Anyway,
Colin Mockery.
He's like one of the only like recognizable big name actors. There are 2. Oh my gosh, who is the other big name actor? There are 2 big name actors, and they're both generals, and they're only in the movie for like 5 minutes combined. But the reason that it just Benedict Cumberbatch. That's who it is.
Oh, Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon. Yes, the Avenger.
Right.
So the movie uses them as generals, and they're only in the movie for like 2 minutes. But like when you enter the scene with them, you immediately know they're the one in charge, and it's because they're a big name actor. Right. And I'm like, it's like that's super interesting the way that they do that, because like the 2 main leads, like Benedict Cumberbatch could have been one of the main leads. Why wasn't he? He's only in the movie for 30 seconds. Yeah. But it's like to signify like him as a general. It's cool. They like assert
that he's an important character. Yeah. Like you have all these other no-name characters. I mean, obviously everybody's a no-name in Mother, but you have all these other characters who don't have much to play, and then you see Kristen Wiig.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I'm going to pay attention to her because she's going to be important.
Yeah, I love that. I really love when they do stuff like that in a movie, honestly.
Anyway, so kind of going forward again, I know we're jumping all around, but there's a lot to talk about with this movie.
There's a lot to talk about.
A lot to unpack. So Kristen Wiig executes these people on the floor, right? I think she's the Roman Catholic Church, or just the church in general.
Okay.
And so then you have other religious leaders they're all worshiping the poet, basically. Obviously, they're analogs to different religions around the world, saying that they have like the know-all, end-all, be-all understanding of who the poet or God is, right? Eventually, things kind of quiet down. The mother and the poet get into the study where the crystal was held, right?
Yeah.
And the mother has the child, okay? Enter the most intense scene of the movie.
Yeah.
To me. So, or the most intense sequence.
Yeah, you would have thought it already happened.
Yeah.
After, like, shit broke loose in the...
Yeah,
which is seriously such a cool sequence in
Yes.
general. That sequence is super cool.
Yeah,
but
it's very disorienting. And we'll talk about it more when we get to filmmaking and cinematography.
Yeah.
Because it's amazing.
But still, like... what comes next?
Yeah. So, okay. So she has the child, right?
Yeah.
It's this beautiful baby boy. Baby boy, obviously, because I think it's Christ, right?
That they don't name.
They don't name, obviously.
Yep.
And everything's quiet outside. He's like, the poet's like, they're just waiting. They're just waiting for something.
Yeah.
And
he says, waiting for what? He says, I don't know.
I don't know. And the poet wants to see the baby. He finds out that the people just want to see the baby. That's all they want to do, right? They just want to see him. So
all mother wants is them out the house.
Yes, the mother just wants the people out of the house. That's this whole time.
Yes,
she's just pleading with the poet to get them out of the house, and he's like, where would they go? Which is obviously like.
And then eventually he breaks in that room. He's like, I don't want them to leave.
Yeah.
And so it's just like.
So eventually, mother falls asleep. The poet grabs the baby from her while she's asleep and takes it out for the people to see him. They start passing the baby around. Again, content warning about violence against children. They start passing the baby around. They start getting too rough with him, and they snap his neck.
They're like, it's like crowd surfing a baby.
Yeah.
It wasn't like passing him around like gently. Like
no, they're
it's
like
in this huge crowd of people, and the baby is crowd surfing amongst and we see the baby's neck snap. And it's just.
And then you're like, that's the moment in the movie where you're like, oh my God. I did not expect this.
This movie just goes from like it feels like 0 to 100 like real fast,
and then
but
it keeps going like 200, 400,
then it just
500.
Like full head of steam, bro.
So full head of steam, bro.
Full head of steam, bro. That's I don't really know what the expression I was trying to say was.
I don't know either.
But full head of steam, bro, is where it's at. And
full head of steam, bro, is where we're landing.
Steam.
Anyway, so they snap the neck and you're like, oh my God, that's horrible. And then mother gets up to where the baby was and they are starting to eat the baby. They're starting to rip apart the baby and feed it to everyone around.
Yeah, she's like, where's the baby? She runs over to the front and there's this table and you see the dead baby.
Yeah,
like
the
pieces
like
of
it's
been
baby.
Torn apart.
And everybody's just got a piece and they're eating it, right? This is obviously, to me, a metaphor for Christ's death and communion. People have, the body of Christ broken for you, right?
Yeah.
That we haven't, in service of the poet, we killed the poet's son. And to me, it's an interesting take on, we killed the poet's son, and yet that was a beautiful thing for us. But obviously, it's a crime against nature, because we killed someone. That's not okay.
Such an interesting... That's just, my mind is racing right now.
Yeah.
That just brings up so many different thoughts of what's right. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's such a moral question.
Yeah.
It's just like,
well, there's obviously this author's or this director's own biases going in here.
Yeah,
right?
of course, his own. He's trying to portray a message. His own take on, I guess, that whole story of the creation of Christ. I guess.
Yeah.
But it's just. It's so much more than that, too.
Oh,
but
for sure.
It's just...
So anyway, after this is when, this is seen as an amazing thing. The poet says, we just have to find a way to forgive them. We have to find a way to forgive them for this.
Literally,
as soon as the baby has been killed.
Yeah. So what happened was, Sorry. What happened was Mother.
What has
happened was Mother came all up in this bitch and started stabbing motherfuckers. Mother came. Wow. So after she finds the dead baby, Mother gets knocked to the ground and grabs a piece of glass on the ground, and she just starts stabbing motherfuckers. Yeah. As you should. You're just like, go off, motherfucker, kill them all. But I mean, there's no hope. Like, it's a terrifying scene. You're never like, come on, kill them. You're just oh man,
because she's just outnumbered.
Yeah, it's scary. And then they all start beating the shit out of her. Like, she gets on the ground and they're like kicking her to death,
calling her horrible names. Yeah,
And that's when the poet steps in. Then he appears just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then he's like, we have to forgive them.
We have to find a way to forgive them.
What are you talking about?
Yeah. And it's amazing. It's an allegory. I mean, it's an analogy to the way that humanity has, like, raped and murdered nature over time.
Mm-hmm.
And nature's fighting back with certain things like climate change. You have all these horrible things happening around the world with climate change, that the natural order is being interrupted, and then we just continue to kill them. We just continue to kill nature, Anyway, obviously, go ahead.
And just another note is that nobody ever listens to Jennifer Lawrence by the
repeatedly in the movie. They're like, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
They see her and they're like, who are you?
Yeah, she's insignificant.
You do have certain people, though, who help her out. You have the publicist, who's kind of like, in the beginning, she's like really helping her. You have that one soldier who's helping her.
One soldier does help her.
So there are certain voices throughout history who have like spoken on behalf of nature and the climate and that sort of thing. But they're mostly drowned out or killed,
Yeah.
And they're not the majority.
Well, at one point, Kristen Wiig's character does, like, when she kills all those people, walks through and shoots them, doesn't she say line her up next? Like, she's next or something?
Yes.
Like, so she would be on the chopping block next, but then the explosion happens through the wall and kills her, essentially. I mean,
to me, it's like the fact that the church doesn't help with this either.
Yeah.
Like, the church doesn't do a whole lot environmentally that they should, But anyway, so they start hurting her and everything, and that's when she runs down to the basement. She uses oil to burn everyone, so that's a not so subtle nod to fossil fuels, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the closing of this movie is so amazing. So her burned up body is there. The poet comes down. He's like, do you still love me? And she like starts crying, and she says, yes, I do. And he just reveals like so much about the whole allegory. And Aronofsky's idea of God is a very different one than you would hear in like a Sunday school.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Aronofsky is an atheist, and it definitely shows, because most of this movie, the poet is nowhere around. He only shows up when he's being loved. Mm-hmm. He only shows up when things are good.
Yeah.
But most of the time he's just gone, or he's just telling Mother to suck it up, or he's just telling Mother like, we need to forgive them or whatever. And it's so senseless that he allows these people to still live in this house.
Yeah.
Without Mother's consent.
And I didn't realize how much like he's not in the movie. Like,
yes.
And how much Mother is. I think she's in every single shot of the movie. I don't know if that's sure, but
there might be a couple of scenes here and there where it like pans away from her.
Yeah.
But it's always from her perspective.
Yeah. She's in like every single shot almost, if not every, but yeah.
But then, so he says, do you still love me? She says, I always do. I'm just sorry that I wasn't enough for you. And he was like, well, you have one more thing to give. And she was like, I don't have anything else to give.
I have nothing left to give.
And so he
says your love.
Yeah, he says your love. And so he digs into her chest, finds the crystal, and that's what he uses to create the new world.
Mm-hmm.
So it's this idea that God feels, and the poet even references this in the last line, and some of the last lines, like, I have to create, it's who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And it shows the poet as this childlike figure
Mm-hmm.
who's just creating and causing mayhem and misery for no better reason than he feels like he has to
Mm-hmm.
in order to fulfill who he is.
Yeah.
So it's a very nihilistic view of who God is, right? But yeah, so then the movie resets and everything.
Welcome, one and all, to the Interlude.
I think it's a good time to take a little break.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the cinematography and nerd out about that for a while.
Yeah.
We're going to take a little break here. We're not going to go anywhere. But I want to ask you a very important question, okay?
I'm sure this is extremely important.
This is extremely important. And
Top
it's,
priority list.
Yes, and it's something that that is very near and dear to my heart.
Okay.
So I was kind of hoping, we've done this interlude. We've decided to do this interlude kind of as a bit, but I don't want this to be always serious or like always, joking,
Okay.
I want it to be serious this time.
We're getting down. We're getting real deep.
We're
here
getting real
on-
deep.
on Fam the podcast.
Right, on Phantom Access Memory or copyright. How many chuggas minimum is necessary for a satisfying choo-choo? Now, before you answer, I want everyone listening to take a moment and think about this question, okay? How many chuggas minimum are necessary for a satisfying choo-choo? Minimum and satisfying.
Minimum
Okay.
and satisfying.
Those are the terms. Now, before you answer here,
Yeah.
I'm going to keep talking for a second,
That's
okay?
fine. Yeah.
I need to defend myself here.
I'm with you.
This
I'm
is something
here.
that I've asked pretty much all of my friends.
If you know Bear, they have probably asked you this question.
Yes, I have probably asked you this question. And if I haven't, I will come and find you and I will ask you this question. Okay? I think this is a very important
They're asking
question.
you now, so-
yes, I'm asking
so-
you now. So,
so-
please email famthepodcast@gmail.com with your answers.
With the
that are
hard-hitting answers.
probably wrong.
We are asking the questions here.
We are asking the questions that no one else dares to ask. Okay, what is your answer to this question?
I feel like there are some obvious ones we can just rule out. For a satisfying chugga,
You're gonna say
Choo-choo.
my answer as
we
one
can
that
rule out one.
Yes,
one is
absolutely.
not
I will.
Chugga
stand by-
choo choo.
Yeah, you can't
Go to
chugga-
hell.
You can't,
That's not happening.
You can't go to hell with your chugga choo choo. You can't just chugga and then choo choo. That's just too much.
I think 2 personally could work, but it doesn't bring satisfying. It's not satisfying enough to be to fulfill the question. What is the minimum amount for satisfying choo choo?
Yeah,
And I think 2 isn't satisfying
chugga
enough.
chugga choo choo. No, you
Chugga,
gotta
chugga,
like
choo choo.
you gotta
It's
like
not
get
enough.
into it. It's got to be like a dance.
Yeah.
You can't just like
There's gotta
speed
be
run a
there's,
dance.
There's momentum
right?
that builds up to get that choo choo.
Yeah.
And I think 2 is too little. It's not satisfying enough. It is. I think it works. I think it could be passed as like, okay,
Yeah.
that we'll let that slide.
But I
But
don't
it's
think
not
that's
ideal.
satisfying.
I agree.
So,
I think 2 and
I think
1
I ruled
are,
that out.
2 and 1 are out.
Okay. We're on the same page so far.
We are on the same page, and I know it's about to derail.
It's about to derail like this chugga choo choo train.
So 3 is your answer.
3 is my
is
answer,
your
for
answer?
the record, and I think that is obviously the best answer.
Chugga
And I
chugga
don't
chugga choo
feel-
choo. It
chugga,
feels
chugga,
wrong.
chugga,
No,
chugga,
I felt like
no,
I
here-
cut
okay,
myself off.
Just chill for a second, okay? just fucking chill for a second. Just take a moment, okay? Breathe. Okay. Listen to how this sounds, okay? We're gonna have like a music podcast going on
Okay,
right now.
I'm ready. Do you want me to be like the engine?
No,
Wait,
just-
that is the engine.
Yes.
Fucking.
You can be the caboose.
What was I gonna be?
You can be the caboose.
What is a caboose name?
Okay, you can just be the hobo on the train.
I need like a lighter.
Zippo lighter.
I was gonna flip the Zippo lighter. Yeah. It'd be like...
Okay. Chugga 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 choo choo. And you gotta do a little dance with it. It's so satisfying. It's so sad.
Chugga choo choo.
Chugga 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 choo choo.
Chugga chugga chugga
Get
choo
the shoulders
choo.
moving. Get the shoulders moving. Chugga 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 choo choo.
Chugga 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 choo choo.
We are two grown ass people sitting in a bedroom, wiggling our shoulders and going chugga 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 choo choo.
Get out of my room, Mom. I'm chugga choo chooing.
Don't interrupt my chugging.
It's important to me when I chugga.
That is gonna be so clipped. That audio is gonna be so bad. I'm so sorry.
Oh man.
Don't forget my diaper though.
I still feel like, okay, the rhythm, I'm less against it than how I was before.
Yeah.
But it's still the same problem with number 2. It's not satisfying
No, it's
enough.
not.
It has not reached the minimum and satisfying requirements. It's minimum.
You have to have like a certain threshold of satisfying.
I feel like I'm cutting myself off with 3. Chugga 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 choo choo. There's supposed to be another one there that I
That
just
reaches
cut off.
my minimum amount of satisfying though.
I think the minimum is
to be
4.
satisfying.
It's got to be 4.
Chugga 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 choo. That's
Chugga
like
chugga 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 choo choo.
that's too much. That's
beautiful.
clunky.
I feel at home with it.
It's a clunky amount. It's a clunky amount. If you're gonna go with 4, you got to go with 5. Chugga 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 choo choo.
Why do you like the odd numbers?
Chugga choo choo. Because it like okay.
I don't like the odd.
Here's the thing. Okay.
I like evens.
When I was researching this.
Oh yeah.
I was
the hard-hitting
researching
questions,
this, right?
Yes.
Okay. Hold on.
Okay. Slurp.
You can't do this to me. I was taking a drink and I just... We got to get this recording done here, okay? This is professional podcasting.
Yeah, sure. Whatever we want to
We
call
are
it.
professional podcasters,
Yes,
okay?
professional podcasting.
We have a podcast.
Yes.
It's recording right now.
This is it? This is the podcast?
Wait, you were recording this?
The whole time? The whole time. Speaking of which, I just watched Mrs. Doubtfire.
Ooh.
Yes.
I heard, okay, this is completely off topic,
Yeah.
but what else isn't? I heard one of my favorite podcasts, System Mastery. They were like, who would you rather see in who would you rather see in a movie? Robin Williams or The Rock? And they were like, oh man, I don't know. And then one of them was like, who would you rather see as Mrs. Doubtfire? And they were like, oh, The Rock all the way.
Oh my goodness, The Rock as Mrs. Doubtfire.
That would be amazing.
That
just
would
get The Rock in like
some-
an old person wig and just like those big fucking muscles.
Oh my goodness.
And the Maori tattoos.
Well, what would be the, like, oh my gosh, what would be oh boy,
Are you
what would be
trying
the
to get a
reverse?
caboose
I'm
again?
saying, yeah, I guess so. What would be the reverse version of that? Who would be the Mr. Doubtfire? Who could play Mr. Doubtfire?
Oh man, this is almost another interlude.
Honestly, like Kristen Wiig could do Mr. Doubtfire, even though we were on her topic earlier. But she's funny enough.
Yeah,
maybe Amy
I
Poehler.
could see Kristen.
Amy Poehler
I
could
could
do
see
Mr.
Kristen Stewart as Mrs. Mr.
Not
Doubtfire.
Kristen Stewart. Although she can do it all.
Not Kristen Stewart.
No,
Get off my Christian Minecraft server with that Twilight. He's smut.
Oh man.
Anyway, okay, so your answer for Chuggas
It's 4,
is 4,
which is the
which is
answer.
wrong. Based on music theory.
Based on music theory.
Yeah. It's 3. It's
Up
got
yours.
Based on music theories, eat shit.
Concluded.
All right, well, now back to your regularly scheduled programming.
And now, back to the show.
So let's talk about Mother again, okay?
Okay.
I'm gonna let you take over this conversation because I've been talking a lot,
Okay.
and you're more of the film person. But
Naturally.
like, I'm a nerd out hardcore with you because
Yeah.
let's talk about some of the things that stood out to you on first watch
Okay.
with this movie for like how it's made.
Yeah. So, I mean, the opening sequence is already bizarre.
Yeah.
Like, to begin with, from somebody who first watched. Okay, well, to preface, you showed
We're just
me.
gonna go shot by shot
Yes.
on this thing,
Well,
and just like analyze frame by frame.
You showed me this movie for the first time, and you were like, I need you to see this movie. And I was like, okay.
I didn't even really know why.
Yeah.
I was just like, I know that Niso will appreciate this, and I don't even know why I think that.
I don't think I talked to you about it for like a week or two after because
you hate me.
Because I hate you and I don't want to talk to you.
That's why I'm choosing to spend a considerable portion of my time on a conversational podcast with you. You see how my brain works, man? This is how my brain works. Like, for real. People with social anxiety, man. This is how it works.
Oh, man.
Anyway, go ahead.
But I genuinely didn't know how I felt about this movie at all. It really took a minute for it to sink in. And I think I came back a week later and was like, that movie fucking rocks.
Yes.
That movie's so dope.
Absolutely.
But it took me forever to really like sit. Like, I sat on that movie because I didn't watch it. The only time that I've rewatched this movie is just yesterday. Mm-hmm. Yesterday was the first time I've watched it for a second time. Yeah. Which was, when did we watch that? A year ago? 2 years ago?
It was I think it was 2020, like New Year's 2020.
Was it?
I think so.
Oh, so it was about a year ago?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Before the COVID apocalypse.
Yeah, before COVID.
So let's talk about like some of the things, more of the things that like stuck out to you. So you said you watched it for the first time that New Year's, and then you just rewatched it. What are some of the things that like stuck out to you that kind of stuck in your mind as, oh my God, this was something I'd never seen before or never thought about?
Well, specifically, one thing that definitely stood out right away that I think I mentioned to you, like, as soon as we finished it, I was like, I don't think there was any music in that movie.
There's one instance where there is a tiny little bit of ambient music, but it's just like one note and that's it.
Oh, really?
And then the very end, they play Why Does the World Go On Shining?
Yeah.
Or Why Does the Sun Go On Shining?
Yeah.
You know, that one.
And that's
Fallout
the first
4.
like song in the movie, and it's during the credits.
Yep.
As soon as like it ends. And
I had never thought about the fact that it had no music until you said that, and it blew my mind.
Yeah, it's crazy. Because
how much music affects how you're supposed to feel in a movie.
That movie really set in like how music literally tells you how you're supposed to feel during a movie. Mm-hmm. And when it's not there, it's perfect that it's not there in this movie. Because it creates that
so disorienting.
It creates that unnerving, like, chaotic feel of the whole movie and the sound design acts as the music.
Absolutely.
The score is the sound design, which why it's so important in this movie. There are so many things like when there were little things throughout the film that a typical movie would show that I love that they don't. Like, it's just quick moments where the poet would tell her to go grab a towel or go, like, get this plate or something, and we never actually see her do it. We just hear it. Like, we hear the rustle of the towel, or we hear the plates, like, clack or something. Mm-hmm. And it's just quick, and it's like, okay, that's over. Like, they don't show you any of the boring stuff that you don't want to see, which a lot of movies do.
Yeah.
But I really love that about this film. Like, they just... quick, let's just add a little noise right there and then have her walk into the next scene. And it's like, okay, then we just assume she did it.
Yeah, so one of the things that I tend to look at, no matter what, is dialogue, right? Because I enjoy the characters and characterization. But in this movie especially, one of the things that you have to pay attention to that really gives you clues into like the analysis of it, the kind of literary analysis, mm-hmm. is the lines that are said off screen by characters.
Yeah.
I wrote some of them down, but I'm not going to like go through them because I think that would be boring. But there is some amazing script writing here of characters who, if you're not paying attention, you're not even going to hear those lines. Mm-hmm. But they're so well done for the metaphor. And it's part of the sound design, again, because it's like off screen, it's not there, mm-hmm. but it's things that are building the world of this movie.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the fact that there's no music in this is, like you said, it's so jarring, mm-hmm. and it just it lends so much to the feeling of the movie.
Yeah, you know? It really does. It sets the tone. Like the silence in the film is the music, and that it just adds so much to how the movie's supposed to feel, because it changes the tone completely. If you add music to any scene, it'll change the way you feel and watch that scene.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence's acting is so good in this movie.
Oh, it totally is.
It is so good.
The funny thing is, she has so little emotion other than confusion until the very end of the movie.
Yeah.
Or fear, mm-hmm. until the like the last like 40 minutes or so of the movie. But it's so accurate, mm-hmm. and it just really, Like that's you are Jennifer Lawrence in this movie.
Yeah, the audience is definitely her. Yeah, and it drives you insane.
Yes.
Like this movie would drive, like, if you think of yourself as Jennifer Lawrence in this situation, if this is actually a situation,
it's such a feeling of powerlessness.
Yeah, it absolutely, and it drives you to the point of insanity. It literally would make me crazy if this were actually the case. Nobody is listening to me. Yes. This is my house.
There's no consent given to Jennifer Lawrence's character.
Yeah,
no power of consent. No power over her own, almost even her own body. You know, because they beat her up at the end, and it's just, if you think about the fact that she is supposed to represent Mother Nature. It's like, what are we doing? You know, what are we doing with this thing? we're not listening to Mother Nature's warning signs at all. You know, I don't want to get preachy on it, but they literally
beat the shit out of her.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
And they never give her, like, they never ask her if they can be there. We are, you know, this movie's thesis is that humans we're, you know, if there is a God, we were created, and we are imposing on Mother Nature. That was a beautiful thing before we got here, and it's a less beautiful thing after.
Yeah, honestly.
And that's such an amazingly nihilistic viewpoint.
Yeah, it really is, but it's just, it hits home so well.
It really does.
The message is super prominent and very impressive in this film. It's like, especially after I watched it the second time, I was like, this seems like one of the most difficult pieces to write of all time. Like, it is extremely hard to write. Yeah. That is an incredibly hard story to get across in general on paper, and then to execute it on film successfully. Because this seems like a movie that could be on paper bound for disaster. Because that seems so incredibly difficult. But I mean, tip your hat to Darren Aronofsky, because his attention to detail, able to execute a film like that. I mean, it really made me want to watch like all of his other films because of this movie. And I believe this is the last most recent movie he's directed.
I believe it is.
Since
the funny thing is, this movie completely bombed,
which is
appalling
horrible to me. It
did horrible in box office. It was a horrible disaster.
Yeah.
And from my understanding, I only briefly read this because I was doing other stuff when I was reading it, but from my understanding of it, part of the reason for that is he didn't want a lot of the movie to be spoiled. You know, he didn't want a lot of stuff to come out before. He didn't want to like explain it to the press beforehand.
Yeah.
So people didn't really know what to expect going in, and it's so disorienting when you're watching it.
Yeah.
I could understand why people wouldn't like it. My partner didn't really like it because of that.
Yeah.
You know, it's just very confusing on
first you have no clue what you're getting yourself into.
Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, the only other movie that I felt that same way before is Parasite. When I saw Parasite, the promotion of like when Bong was on Bong Joon-ho, who directed the movie, when he was on like talk shows and stuff. I mean, the trailers, you're like, okay, what is this movie?
Yeah.
Like you have the trailers give away nothing.
Yeah.
And then he's in the interview. He's getting interviewed, like asking about the movie. He's like, just go see it. He literally doesn't explain anything. Like he's got it on top level secrecy, the same way the Marvel actors do. Like they won't spoil anything. The same way he's not going to spoil his movie because the plot is spoiling the movie.
Yeah.
The part of the movie is finding out what the plot is, which is cool. I think a lot of movies don't do that, which is, I mean...
Well, and it's a risky move.
It's super
and obviously
risky.
It didn't pay off in this one.
Yeah.
You know, because it was a disaster in the box office.
Yeah. 2 different cases where they clearly didn't pay off, which, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think of what 2017 consisted of. I'm pretty sure 2017 was a pretty good year for movies. But I mean, Oscar attention felt very deserved for this movie.
Yeah,
but
it wasn't. There was nothing.
Naturally,
there was nothing.
I mean,
and it's so sad because there's just like, okay, we've been like, let's talk about, while we have a couple minutes here, let's talk about some of the things that maybe could have done better. Like, just as a reference, I give this movie a 9 out of 10. Honestly, I think it's that good.
Yeah,
especially on third watch.
Yeah,
like second watch bumped it up for me.
Speaking of which, we got to talk about rating systems next too.
We do. Maybe we'll do that next. I don't know. I think we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I have a bad habit of like saying maybe we'll do that next.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
We never know.
We have no clue. We have no solutions.
we have no opinions. But But that would be a good one to talk about, especially if we're going to do more reviews of stuff, because just to let people know like my biases, because that'll also be a pretty animated conversation, because you don't like my rating system.
Not that I don't like your rating system. I just think,
and my partner really doesn't like my rating system.
I just think that a 1 through 10 rating system is structurally flawed.
Well, what do you want to do? Like have a rubric for it?
I don't know. I don't know what the solution is.
Like, how would you want to...
But me personally, I don't like giving a movie like an 8 or a 9 or a 7 or whatever, just a number. Because then it just doesn't sit well with me. I'm like, but I also don't know how to rate the system. So I guess you beat me in this case because I don't even know how I should rate this movie.
Let's say this. We'll save this conversation for the next episode.
Yes, this is...
This is a good conversation to have, though. So we'll table that for now. But,
sure.
So let's talk a little bit, share. I'm actually going to borrow this from System Mastery, who does, or Movie Mastery, who does reviews of movies. Okay. They're generally very shitty movies that they do because they're funny people.
Yeah.
And we will probably do some of those as well at some point just to be funny, because I'm not normally funny. But I do laugh too much, so there's that.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
So I want to hear your best and worst. We'll start with the best. What's the best thing in this film for you?
It's broad, but like the execution of the story, the fact that there is no plot, but there is, like the story just kind of happens, the movie just kind of happens, and everything just like throws you into the ball of chaos. The uneasy feel of this whole movie.
Yeah. So like the mouth feel of this movie.
Yes.
When you watch it, like the experiences that you're having with it.
Yes. It is. Yeah. It is a different movie experience than almost any other movie I've seen. Which I
agree.
Probably my favorite part of this movie. It just throws you in, and you have no clue what you're getting yourself into. And then when you piece it all together, it's just like, oh shit. And it's the same way, like, same thing, like, it's completely ambiguous, but at the same time, there are answers. But it doesn't tell you anything. The same case, it doesn't tell you anything. Which I love. There's no, like, narration or something, or where at some point you just expect the poet to just tell you all.
Right.
But he doesn't.
Yeah.
And it's I just love that.
Yeah, the closest moment you get to that is the very end, but it's still, even though like it's not breaking to the movie to have that little bit of exposition you get at the end.
Yeah, the purpose of this film was to convey a message of how God and Mother Nature are perceived from Darren Aronofsky's point of view, at least. Yeah. That was the whole point of this film, and you understand. It delivers completely, and it's crazy. The story, and then you think about that, that's how the basis of this film is, and then the creation of how he was able to execute that.
Yeah.
Oh, let's create the story of this mother and the poet.
Yeah.
And then that's how it begins. And it's just that process, that creative process of how he wrote it, it just baffles me. Yeah. So the story in general of how he was able to portray
the movie is your favorite part.
The movie's my favorite part, but the it's so impressive to me. It's a very impressive movie to me.
Yeah. I'm gonna say my favorite part is probably the characterization of the poet. Like the way that, especially at the end, I just got this wave of like when the poet is just talking about how he can't help but create. That's just who he is, and he can't help but be loved. That's who he is. That is, it just gave me such a flash of this understanding of God as a child, like this child who doesn't know what he's doing and is just creating, and it's just such a beautifully nihilistic view of things that it just like tickled my depression muscles. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the best way possible.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally.
It's just like such a dark view of who God is that it made me appreciate the chaos in the entire rest of the movie and understand why the rest of the movie was so chaotic, because the poet is a child at heart. Like he just is so simple and doesn't know what he's doing, but he just can't help but create.
Yeah, and when he says that line, like, I can't help but create, it literally thought of like a different title for who the character is. He's the creator.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, well, like that's what I thought. I was like, oh, so he's the creator.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, so God.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh my God.
And
like
it's such
that was the moment of like piecing together. It's just like, oh shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So what's your worst favorite thing? Least favorite thing? Like something that really could have been done better?
Oh man.
There's not a whole lot in this movie to me that could have been done better.
Yeah, I was about to say, I mean, I really did like the movie from beginning to end. What could have been better? I need to sit.
I'll go ahead and go first.
Yeah, you go first. I need to sit and think about it.
Yeah. So I think my favorite or my least favorite thing is probably just the way that the first man and the first woman are characterized. That was a little confusing to me. Now Aronofsky did a pretty good job of making them like Adam and Eve counterparts.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that Eve is characterized is a little troubling to me, just because she almost seems like a devil character.
Mm-hmm.
Like she seems like she's really fighting against Mother Nature. Now that could be definitely construed as like the way that the church views womanhood.
Yeah.
And how the church having its own creation myth that involves woman being the one to fall and then kind of dragging men down with them.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of bullshit, it's not really Aronofsky doing that. It's the church saying that.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like it's a little, the characterization of, was it Ed Harris?
Mm-hmm.
Is that,
yeah.
Ed Harris and Michelle Pfeiffer's characters, could have done a little bit more to kind of give the Adam and Eve sort of vibe. That being said, it's a pretty minor thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think the rest of it, like, everything else was so chaotic that it was very much sort of a flash in the pan as far as human history is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
But I think their characterization could have lent a little more to the allegory of Adam and Eve.
Yeah. And, well, there was that photo, like, at the end of the poet, and it's got like the devil horns on him, like droop. Do you remember that?
Oh no, I don't remember that.
There's a little photo on the ground as she walks by, and it's like those little photos that everybody had of the poet, and it's like the devil horns on him and stuff, and it's just like it's just, so is he the god is the devil type thing? I don't know if that was what that was meant to be.
I mean, to me that would mean that it's a nod to the fact that that humanity kind of makes up what God is anyway. Like the fact that humanity just kind of sees God for many different things. Mm-hmm. And maybe the person who, in this movie, the person who did that is a stand-in for Aronofsky himself. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, I'm the only one who sees God as a bad thing. You know, it may be that feeling. I know a lot of atheists who kind of feel ostracized because they're like, can nobody else see how a God who is supposed to be all loving and all powerful but still allows evil to exist is a bad thing? Mm-hmm. So I could see how that might be the case. I don't know. Yeah. But I could see it also being pretty confusing when everybody else seems to be, really worshiping the poet the entire movie. So
yeah. I mean, and isn't like Michelle Pfeiffer's character is mostly the one talking about them should have a child, like in the first act. Yeah. She's the one who's like pushing, well, you should have a baby. Where is your baby? You don't have a baby? Oh, why don't you have a baby? Yeah. So you're going to have a baby now? Like, she's pushing it on Jennifer Lawrence's character so much.
And that whole thing with the Christ analogy is, I'm going to have to chew on that more. I don't quite know how that fits. Yeah. Because that's too big of a part of the movie to just say, well, maybe this isn't part of the allegory.
Sure. Yeah.
So, anyway.
I mean, yeah. I guess there's just parts that just like, you never know what's actually supposed to be interpretation and what's just the movie. You know what I mean?
So would you say that's your least favorite thing, probably?
I guess that would be
it's kind of a nebulous thing.
Yeah, but I guess that would be my least favorite thing. Not that there's not answers, but that sometimes you just can't tell if things are happening on purpose. Yeah. You know what I mean?
In service of the allegory, or whether they're just happening because you still have to make it a movie.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I guess that would be my least favorite part, but I mean, it's hard for me to think of a least favorite part because, I mean, I genuinely was
As you can tell, we enjoyed this movie.
We enjoyed the movie from beginning to end, so.
So, all right, well, there's your review of Mother. I give it a rating 9 out of 10. Niso doesn't give it a rating.
Niso gives it a thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. 1 thumb up.
2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up.
2 thumbms up from Niso.
All right, it's a perfect movie in Niso's mind because he
2
only
thumbs up and a smile.
Because to my knowledge, he only has 2 thumbs, so I guess that's a perfect movie.
You haven't seen my 3rd thumb? Nope. No, never.
I would like to. Anyway, thank you so much for watching and listening to Fandom Access Memory. We really appreciate you listening, and we hope that you continue to enjoy the content. As I said before, please feel free to email us at famthepodcast. That's FAM, the podcast at gmail.com. Give us ideas for episodes to do, things you want us to do, things you don't want us to do.
And we'll do them.
And we'll do them. Things that you hate us for, and we'll do them more.
Mm-hmm. Tell us your least favorite things about us, and we will embrace them.
And we will embrace them and say...
Make you hate us.
And I will bring it to my therapist in therapy. So, again, thank you so much for listening. Also, check us out on Instagram. I believe it's Fandom Access Memory on Instagram. I haven't been super active on Instagram, but I'm going to start posting when we have stuff. But we don't have any followers right now. So please follow us there so we can spread the word and get more listeners, because that's always a good thing. So... Again, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have an excellent chugga choo choo week.
Was that 3? Did you say 3?
I said 3.
Oh, okay. Well, I hope you have a chugga.
All right, good night, everybody.